Hi, welcome to This Week in Gender, where in 10 minutes or less, we talk about gender.
Nice little,
I
like that. That's good.
I'm just building in every week.
That's right, exactly. Speaking of change,
we moved into the new studio
space.
We've incorporated a lot of feedback that you all have given us, so thank you so much. Please continue to give feedback, both positive and constructive.
I love studios sound so much better than closet, which is
it's
really what it was. So that's nice. I mean, I like it. It sounds nice.
Yeah. But we're turning it. It's a large closet that is now a studio space.
And we're excited about it.
Because gender spectrum is moving up.
That's right. To a big closet. That's good. All right.
Introductions.
I'm Lisa Kenny. I'm the Executive Director at Gender Spectrum.
I'm Carlos Bermudez, the Manager of Online Programming and Community Development.
All right, topics.
I went first last week. Do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm going to talk about something I've been thinking a lot about lately, which is pronouns.
Okay.
And what sort of triggered the thought was a couple things. One was I was looking at an opinion in the New York Times, sort of an op-ed by a professor at City University of New York, Professor Elizabeth, I think it's Reese. If I'm butchering your name and you happen to see this, please forgive us and also let me know how we should pronounce it. We'll correct it later. So it's Reese or Rice. Anyway, and she was talking about the process in colleges, sort of early in the semester, introducing yourself with the name that you want people to use and your preferred pronouns.
And that's great, right? I mean,
well, it's great, right?
Okay.
Except it's great when it's easy. It's great when it's straightforward. It's not great when it's not so clear, or you're figuring it out, or you're in transition, or you're not quite sure.
Right.
And here's the other thing, it's the beginning of the semester. You don't know these people.
Yeah.
Right? So again, safety issues and whether or not you feel comfortable. Basically, talking about this very intimate thing about yourself, especially if it's uncertain, or maybe you're in the middle of a transition, like some sort of physical transition, and so people look at you like, oh, that surprised me.
Right.
So now you're telling something that's actually quite vulnerable about yourself, and you're sharing it with people who basically are strangers. And so it's a complex thing, and I think it was a really great point. I think that she raised about how do we make sure that this thing that is done to be inclusive and aware and thoughtful, and to create space for everybody, also doesn't put people on the line in a way in which you don't want to be.
Right.
And I was thinking about this. This same issue had sort of come up for me recently because I thought, well, I should put my pronouns in my email.
At Gender Spectrum, we all do that in our signature.
Exactly. We all do that. And the thing is, it's easy for some of us and not so easy for others. And so initially I'd put sort of she, her, hers, because that's what most, I don't know why. Actually,
because that's what you've been told.
Because I have, because those come up. But those actually don't, those don't feel like sort of great pronouns for me. But also the masculine pronouns don't. And I wasn't really quite sure about the they. And so what I realized actually as I really thought about this was I don't care that. For me, my pronouns are not important to me. And the truth is, you can call me any pronoun, and I'm going to be okay with that. And at first, so I put that in, and then I lived with that for about a day, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to offend somebody, because for many people it is really important. I don't want to be disrespectful of that. So then I retracted, and I was back into this no person's land around pronouns. And eventually I thought, you know what I can do in my small part of this conversation to be more inclusive is to say what my truth is. And my truth doesn't inherently disrespect anybody else's truth. So for anyone where they have specific pronouns that matter, it's really important that we create a space for that and we name that. And we also don't require that. And if somebody else has some other pronouns or it does matter to them, then there should be space for that. And that's the way I think we're really going to understand what the diversity around gender is. So anyway, that's my topic. I thought hers was a great op-ed piece, and it was a great reminder for me too.
So then if I want to ask what pronouns did you end up using, but does it matter? I think that's kind of what this is coming down to, is for every person it's unique, but for me to want to know speaks to this need of having to classify it, right?
Yeah, and I think, I ended up just putting, any pronouns are fine.
Okay.
Because I thought my truth, and that's what people should know, is they don't need to worry about it for me, and that I want them to be aware that that's part of it.
Right.
I think in terms of the group setting, and this is true whether we're talking about, high school classrooms, I know this comes up, I know it also comes up in college classrooms, and in the workplace. I talk with a lot of companies about how to deal with this in the workplace. Yeah. And I think one of the things is to just simply say, it's great to provide an opportunity for those that want to share. It's great to acknowledge up front to say, and if you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's also great to say, and by the way, if it changes over the course of our relationship, feel free to update me,
yeah,
right?
That's fine.
It's really just a thing of respect. So let me know what works for you, but also let's not make it a requirement so that something that's supposed to feel good all of a sudden feels oppressive instead. So anyway,
right. Yeah,
so that's my topic for the week.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's for all of us to think about.
That's a really neat one. Yeah, definitely.
All right, your topic. What are you thinking about these days?
So I saw popped up on Facebook. MTV has a competition called the Look Different Creator Competition. Oh. I'm not entirely familiar with the premise of it, but the video that won is called American Male, and it talks about, it kind of speaks to the idea of toxic masculinity and homophobia.
Oh, interesting.
So it's filmed, it's following this, I'm assuming cisgendered, male, straight-ish. The reason why I say ish is because the entire video is an internal narration of his sense to kind of mask, to disguise, to smother things that are seen as being not masculine. Mm. So there's, in one of the opening scenes, it talks about order beef, not chicken, never tofu, there's nothing gayer than tofu. Huh. Like, don't get into the arts unless you live on the coasts. And then they talk about, like, because it's gay, he's using steroids. He says that men don't gesture with their hands, but women do. So at a young age, he learned to keep his hand. So
these cues about
so everything like,
between...
then you're gay if you're talking with your hand, like, you know. So the entire video kind of follows him through his internal struggle of what it means to be a man and what it means to perform. There's this idea of gender being performative, right? So the idea is that he has to constantly check himself and oppress himself and police his body and his mannerisms because that's what masculinity does. And it reminded me, Jennifer Newsom did a video, created a documentary a few years ago called The Mask You Live In. Mm-hmm. And the other one that she did was Misrepresentation. Right. And both of those really kind of speak to toxic gender roles and the idea of, like, if you are male, you act this way. If you are female, you act this way. And if you fall outside of that, then there's something inherently wrong with you. Then it becomes a miscategorization of who you are because you're not performing within the lines of what gender is. And so it all kind of made sense. It pieced together this idea that I think, and I think both The Mask You Live In and Misrepresentation were very successful. But for someone like MTV, an organization like MTV, to really take it on, given a lot of the stuff that they've been doing recently about kind of mental health, HIV/AIDS awareness, people of color, really looking at a lot of intersectionality, and now gender specifically, I keep saying this, but I feel like it speaks to what is happening right now in terms of big companies, networks, everyone getting on board in terms of, like, there are things we really need to talk about. And these things are not all right. So let's have a conversation. I think especially with this younger generation of people who are really kind of pushing those boundaries.
Right. I think one of the things that's really interesting to this topic, there's so many things, right? There's so many things that are wrapped up in that. First of all, lots of cultures speak with their hands, whether they're women or men. So again, it's a very particular cultural perspective about what's masculine, and that becomes, though, dominant. And so it tries to negate those cultural influences that are sort of naturally there. But also this idea, and I think particularly toxic for those that identify as men or boys, is this way in which homosexuality and gender are conflated in a way in which it's, if you want to make sure that you're not perceived as gay, whether you're gay or not, and if you're gay, you may particularly not want to be perceived in high school, for example, depending on the situation, then you go out of your way to go, it's the most hyper-masculine notions because in fact you can't give. There's no room to give on that.
No, absolutely not.
And
no.
it's it's not healthy for anyone, right?
No,
so I mean that's really the thing. So anyway, really interesting topic.
Fascinating. Yeah. So that's my topic.
All right.
Okay.
Well, hopefully you all will think a lot about that and talk about it amongst yourselves.
And please again continue to give us feedback. We really do appreciate it, and we're
really
trying to incorporate it into what we're doing. So tune in next week for This Week in Gender, but next week.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Take care.